Serious, what's the creepiest, scariest thing that you've seen but no one believes you? With a bunch of kids playing around the street when I notice a floating stick. There's no trees around and everyone else saw it. Put my hands around it to make sure it wasn't a spider's web or string, but it was definitely floating. The moment I touched it, it fell. Still can't explain it to this day. Stick, terrorizer of children, deceiver of gravity. When I was 17, I was up late one night watching a movie in my living room. I was living in a condo at the time, a smallish building, only 3 stories, so not a lot of people. It was mostly middle-aged people and in a nice end of town, so we rarely heard noise from neighbors, especially late at night. So the movie ends and the credits roll. It's about 2 AM. I'm playing on my phone and the condo is pretty quiet. Suddenly I hear a noise coming from the front door. It sounded like a long nail or claw slowly dragging across the door, and then a soft tap tap tap. This repeats several times. Meanwhile I am shitting myself. It was the most eerie, ominous sound. I felt like I was in a horror movie. I was too scared to go look out the peephole because I thought whoever it was might see my shadow looking out, as lights were on near the door. Who knows what they want? I'm not out here trying to die. The horrible scratching noise carries on for about 30 seconds and then stops. 20 minutes later I get the guts to look in the hallway and nothing is there, and no marks are on the door. I still get heebie-jeebies thinking about it. For some reason the sound of knocking on a door instantly fills me with dread. It makes me anxious and paranoid. I become scared to answer the door because of this fear of what if something I don't like is on the other side. So that being said, the experience you had would be like a living heck for me. I would have been in tears. So scary. It would help if I had pictures to explain the setting here, but I used to fish at an abandoned house's pond near my home. Next to that property was a wealthy neighborhood of about 6 houses, mansions. One day while getting off the bus, I saw a black Mercedes with fully tinted windows, which is rare in New Jersey, sitting in the driveway of the pond house. I found it odd, and was kind of sad because I thought I'd never get to fish there again. The next day, I found out the man who lived at the end of the wealthy neighborhood had been shot in the head while he slept. Rumor has it he was involved in the mafia. I believe those rumors. I was driving to South Dakota to visit family. Drove all night, around 7 AM. Tired. Almost 45 minutes to my destination. I look east from the HWY and deep in the plains there was this huge golden bridge silhouetted structure, mended with the clouds and the sparkle of the sun. It almost looked heavenly-esque. I mean, it looked small from the car, but I understand depth perception. And up close that would be a huge Golden Gate-sized structure. Looks like it stretched from north to south as far as I could see. Rubbed my eyes. Still there. I just remember thinking I'm freaking tired as crap. I've driven this road many times and there ain't crap that way except grassy plains. Fast forward maybe a year or 2. I'm back in South Dakota working for the summer with my family. One day for work we had to drive down this same road early around 8ish AM. When one of the guys goes, "Remember this one morning, we were driving down this same road for work, and this golden bridge looking thing, huge as frick, was on the horizon over there," pointing to the east where I saw it years earlier. All of a sudden, instantly when he said that, I remembered that moment from years earlier. I freaked out, because I thought I was hallucinating, but they described exactly what I saw. This is South Dakota, and there ain't no huge golden bridge looking object anywhere in that state. Still baffles me to this day. Try not to think too much on it because I haven't seen it since. Weird as crap though. Sorry I diverted from the original prompt, but this event popped into my head when I read it. I wish there was more to this story cause I want to keep hearing about it. When I was little, 7 or 8, I woke up one night to a white dog sitting in the doorway of my bedroom. This was weird because we didn't have a dog or any other indoor pets. While I watched it got up and went down the hall towards the living room. I got up, looked down the dark, empty hall and went the opposite direction to my parents' room. I woke my mom up and told her there was a dog in the house. She got up and we looked, but didn't find anything. She thought I was dreaming. At some point, when I was older, I found a picture of the dog my parents had when I was a baby. I learned from my mom that the dog often slept in my doorway, guarding my room. But the dog died before I was 2. The dog in the picture was the dog I saw that night. Right after high school, Class of 91. I got a contract job with the Forest Service. We traveled all over the West doing gopher control in replanted clear cuts. The gophers would eat the tender roots of the newly planted saplings, and we had to control them to give the trees a chance to get started. We were returning to our hometown after a long job in Oregon, driving across the desert near a government lab. It's about 3 AM. We're going about 80 in a 55-mile-per-hour zone. Suddenly, a semi-truck, completely blacked out, no lights at all, bombs past us on this stretch of highway like we were standing still. Then, 2 army-style trucks, also blacked out, scared the crap out of us. Got back to our hometown, told several people what we saw. No one would believe us. I still think they are doing freaky crap out there in that desert lab. If we'd tried to chase them or anything, we probably would have disappeared. Ha, I've never even heard of something like that, but that's just the thing. You wouldn't hear about something like that. You got a fleeting glimpse at something very secret there. In college, I had a summer internship in a national park that had just ended a wolf reintroduction program. A number of interns were housed in an area of cabins clustered together on a 1-lane gravel road. I was staying in a different area of the park and had gone over to the cabins for dinner one night. I left pretty late, close to midnight, and was enjoying the quiet walk down the road to my car. It was a clear night with a full moon, and the conifers growing on either side of the road shaded it almost entirely. As I'm walking, I see a light-colored shape on the other side of the road coming in my direction. I kept walking, slowly, and as we drew toward each other, I saw that it was an enormous canid of some sort. Far too big to be a coyote, but as far as we knew, all the wolves had been relocated. We each kept our pace, and it never turned its head or anything, just kept walking. I somehow managed not to pee myself, but by the time I got into my car, was shaking so hard I could barely get my key in the ignition. Everyone I've told thinks I was exaggerating, but I was stone cold sober, less than 10 feet from it, and that animal's back was up to my waist, easily the biggest dog creature I've ever seen. My leather couch was ripped open when I lived alone. Could have been an owl infestation. My mom and I were driving through rural Missouri late one night. It was dark and hard to see much beyond the headlights. All of a sudden something scampered, yes, scampered, across the road in front of our car. We didn't hit it, but when it got to the other side of the road, on the shoulder, it sat up on its hind legs, turned around, and looked directly at us. It had a long, thin tail, too thin to be a foxtail, too big in general to be a squirrel or possum. To this day we both swear it was a monkey. People don't believe us, but the way it turned back and looked at us once it got to the other side of the road was so chilling and human-like. Based on the size, shape, and movement, it could only be a monkey. I once walked into my living room to see a football that I have never seen before lying in the middle of the room, vertically. It fell on one side when I guess it noticed me and proceeded to roll into the kitchen and behind the counter and out of view. After standing there for more and confusion, I went to look for it. It wasn't there. Never saw it again. My mom used to always yell at me to close the pantry door, and one day when I was home alone I got a snack and left the door open. As I was walking away the door slammed shut and I heard a voice say close it quietly but intensely. I swear I literally grabbed my dog and ran faster than I ever have before up to my room and locked the door. Let's just say I literally will never forget to shut the dang door. Man, you gotta be pretty forgetful for ghosts to start reminding you to do crap. In high school I briefly dated a gothy chick whose idea of a good time was to hang out, and yeah, occasionally make out, in the old graveyard out on the edge of town. Not my favorite thing in the world, but she was cute and I was 16, so there you have it. One night she told me to meet her there. Place was dark and empty, as always. I had my phone flashlight and was poking my way through the headstones to the tree that was our usual meet-up spot, when I saw some movement in my peripheral vision. Turned the light to where I thought it was in time to see a silhouette move behind a headstone about 30 yards away. I was sure it was her trying to scare me, which she sometimes did, and called out to her, and in response I heard a female voice, but not hers, call the same name back to me, like it was mocking me. I turned and sprinted back to the road. I texted her from my car. She said she hadn't left her house yet. I cancelled on her and drove home. In my hometown, In Massachusetts, there's a colonial era graveyard where I used to enjoy walking at night. I saw an odd shaped gravestone that I didn't remember seeing before, much lighter color than the others, and as I got closer it seemed to be moving. I was really intrigued. Got closer, it was two people freaking. Oops, wasn't even that late. I was about 4 to 6 years old and my mother was telling me to get ready for bed. I remember hopping on the bed and going straight for the window. I pulled open the curtains dramatically. I was face to face with a giant fly moth head. Its face was staring straight at me and was huge, almost like a mask pulled over someone's head. I became hysterical trying to express what I saw and was told it was my imagination. Now, this was in the window to the backyard. Our house was on a foundation above ground, so that window was 10 feet off the ground. It's been over 17 years and I remember that creature staring back and the sheer horror of its eyes. Can't bring myself to look out of windows at night. When I was 3-4 years old I had a best friend named Abigail. We did everything together. Played in the sandbox, creeks and rivers, playgrounds, you name it, we were sidekicks. I even drew her portrait one day and told my mom to save it somewhere safe so I could give it to her on her birthday. I still have it somewhere, but I drew a girl with dark shoulder length hair with a red bow in it. She was wearing a blue jumper-like dress with a long sleeve red shirt under it, and brown shoes. I'll have to find it to show you. I just remember I loved playing with her and then one day I just never saw her again. Now if this were my mom telling the story she would say that at this age I was just an independent little girl who liked to play and be by herself. She just thought Abigail was an imaginary friend. Until one day when I was about 11-12 years old, the local historical society posted a researched historical article detailing the events of a tragic farmhouse fire that happened about 75-80 years prior on the property that our subdivision was built on. The fire was devastating, in which a family of 6, 2 parents and 4 kids were all killed. One of those kids was a 4-year-old and her name was Abigail. A picture of the family was included in the article, black and white, but you could clearly see the little girl had dark shoulder length hair with a bow in it and was wearing a jumper with a long sleeve shirt under it. To this day my mom still refuses to believe my best friend was probably a ghost. A light. I was alone on a forested, snow-covered mountain and there was a bright light just sitting in the middle of the trail. It was there all night. In the morning there was nothing there. A white, smiling face at my window as I was laying down for bed. My mother checked all around, and there was nothing, but I swear to God, I saw it and it was a person. She still teases me about it from time to time. What the frick, that's terrifying. I watched a stabbing. Both guys ran right after, so I had no proof. I never found out what happened to them, but no one believed I saw a random assault, even though I was in the worst neighborhood. When I was about 7-8 my neighbors had walkie-talkies and we would all play on them in the neighborhood and talk. For some reason I changed my station cause I couldn't hear them anymore. Then an older gentleman voice comes on and starts talking to me. He was telling me he was my uncle and his daughter was crying and he wanted me to say her name over and over to comfort her. Young me starts doing it and then I stop cause I'm freaked out. I run and tell my parents what happened and they didn't believe me. I have never touched one since because I knew it was some perv getting off on it. Jesus Christ, if I ever have a kid I'm going to investigate the things my child tells me, even if it turns out to be nothing. When I was about 7 or 8 years old I was out camping with my family and some family friends. Me and some other children had gone off into the woods hiking around. Eventually we wandered a bit deeper into the woods and farther away from the campgrounds. Me and this one girl got separated from the group, so we were wandering around the woods. There was an awful smell, and being stupid, dumb, curious kids we walked closer to the scent. There was a slightly hollowed out tree trunk, and just outside of it, there was a pair of decaying human feet. Then we looked in horror, realizing we just stumbled across a dead body in the woods. We went and told the others, but nobody freaking believed us. So I guess there is somebody out in the woods. I wonder why they didn't ask you guys to lead them to the body and just brushed it off. I saw a UFO with my mother in Oregon one night. We were traveling when I spotted a triangle shape in the sky, formed by 5 bright lights. We stop the car, get out and look, and it's just hovering there, silent with no movement. I should have taken pictures or a video, but I was so caught up in the moment because I couldn't make out what I was seeing. Out of nowhere, this thing shot off to the horizon, faster than any man-made machine. We both remember clear as day, however very few people believe our story. This same exact thing happened to my brother and his friends while they were traveling from North Carolina to New York. It was at a rest stop when they noticed, and a whole bunch of people ended up watching with them. I think it was about 5 or so lights, and the same thing happened. He's very into this sort of thing, so he will be very excited when I tell him. LOL. You've been visited by a dog. It's a regular dog but he's a good boy. If you comment pet 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 he'll let you pet him. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.